Hey guys, it's Gage, the vocalist for the band Bird that you may be familiar with if you've ever been on the channel Official Bird, which is where you are now. And I'm here today to analyze and provide commentary on our first performance, possibly give you a little behind the scenes on the entire thing. I don't intend to go over every single moment, every song entirely, just because the video would be well over an hour long if I did so. However, if you want to watch the whole video without any commentary, you can go to the video that's in the description. Now, before we get started, I want to provide a little context to our situation. We were performing at a park in a small rural area, which was putting on a fair event sort of deal with a few other bands playing. We had a crowd of around 30 to 40 people, nothing too fantastic, but it was our first show, so we couldn't really ask for much else other than that. Hell, we didn't even ask to get paid by the venue as we were just seeking publicity and wanted any exposure we could get at that point. We were scheduled to play towards the middle of the event and had shown up 8 hours earlier with all our equipment and gear just so that we could hang around the park and enjoy the event before we actually got ready to play. Eventually, time started winding down, and we were the next band scheduled to play. We had a small grace period where we could set up our gear and get prepared and whatnot before we started playing, which was actually a great deal of help. The venue was incredibly lenient, most likely just because of the small size, but it was still fantastic for us that they did that. The band that went out before us played quite a bit longer than they were scheduled for, so we ended up setting up and getting ready about half an hour late, which only added to the overall stress of it being our first time on stage performing. But we set up everything rather quickly, and there wasn't much trouble between us and the other bands or the crowd, and the crowd was actually very patient. There's one more thing I would like to inform you about before we start. Our recording setup overall wasn't fantastic. To record the show, we set up my laptop towards the back of the stage with a mixer connected to a boomed mic at the front of the stage. And that was it. This is all we really had time to set up, but it seemed to work well enough for the most part. There wasn't a lot we could do to edit the audio and post as it all came from one source, and that obviously provides blatant balancing issues. That and the person mixing us was not the best. But I won't put the blame on anyone other than ourselves. With that out of the way, finally jump into my analysis of our first performance. So here we are, all on stage. Everyone's got their equipment and everything set up, and we're about to start the show with our first song, March. Here it is. Of course, now it becomes incredibly evident how bad our recording setup was as William activates his distortion on his guitar, and everything just kind of gets warbled and you lose a whole lot of the inner details of the audio, but it still worked out. So at this point, the tension in the air and all the stress was starting to kind of alleviate for all of us, because you can see that we're all very, we're nervous and we're trying to get into our habits and play the song and just do a good job while we're on stage. But we're all still kind of nervous, but that does go away, and you can see that we become much more relaxed later on in the recording. But for now, it's just we're a little bit tight. found that in the chorus of March, you can really tell how nervous I am, just because how my voice sounds and how shaky I am. But you know, I eventually shake it off and do as I do. So that part of March, we intended to be a pretty long breakdown. It's about 8 measures long, I think, of just that same thing. That's definitely something we're going to work on in the future, is adding more to that part. Maybe a little bit of layered guitars, possibly a solo or something of that sort, just so it isn't so repetitive. Like you heard, it was almost 30 seconds of the same thing before it just goes back into the chorus, which you just heard. So we will work on that in the future, but it was the best we had in the limited amount of practice time we had before the show. Again, you can hear me trying to find my voice. Which isn't great, but as I said, I'm not too practiced in this whole sort of deal, and we're all tense. So here we are at the outro of March, which leads right into Pretty Money, and I think we led it in quite well. I almost think it was flawless even, just because we had practiced this specific part so many times. This is easily the most practiced song out of the bunch. So right there, you can tell that there's definitely a lot of balancing issues early on, just with how quiet Burke's guitar is, and during the you know, the hook, the down down. It's very quiet, but it's still audible, as well as Ben's flute being quite a bit louder than we intended. However, every instrument can still be heard quite well, though the two most prominent ones, perhaps intentionally, perhaps not, were William's guitar and my vocals. Yeah, you can see I just told him to turn himself up. You can see already we're getting a lot more comfortable with our playing. This solo actually came out perfect. Let me turn it up. So definitely a pretty solid performance of those two songs. And from this point, we actually do perform better just because we could tell the crowd is at least into it somewhat. We're not getting booed off stage, and we're all having a good time at that point. So we really start working on it. You can see that Ben, Burke, and William are all working on mixing Burke's guitar, and later you will see that there was some technical difficulties that I will skip over for you because it does take a little while to get resolved. And anyways, the next song that we're going to be moving on to is almost on the same level as the other two, I think. Maybe a little worse, just because it wasn't practiced as much, but I still think we performed it rather well at this particular event. So I'm going to leave in the part where I introduce everyone, just in case you're not familiar with everyone at the time you're watching this video. So here's the introduction.
And so to keep things, flowing, get to the next song faster, we're going to have to introduce everyone. And the way I like to do this is in order from worst to best. So, of course, first off, the worst member in the band, that guy, Joe Ueno, our bassist. But he's still better than you because at least he's in a band. Just barely ahead of him, we have me, myself, and I, Gage Boss, the vocalist for the band Bird. I'm basically a permanent fill-in. Anyways, moving on, we have right in the middle, not quite good, not quite bad, we have Burke Davis, the lead guitarist. Alright, now we're getting to the people that actually know what they're doing. We're going to move right on to Sean Bauman, the drummer. Finally, if you can use process of elimination to figure out who the best person in the band is, it's this Jesus-haired individual right there, William Miller. But we got one more person. He's in the band, we'll say, and he's just been a great help. He's been with us since the beginning. It's that boy holding that silver instrument right there, Ben Brown. You might not be able to hear him, but he's there.
So you'll find that style of introduction with from worst to best is going to be a recurring stage gag among, me and the members of Bird, just because we like to do it. It's a little fun we can have with the crowd, and it also gets everyone, familiarized with everyone else. So next up, the song that we're going to be playing is called Not Quite There, and the audio quality is not quite as good as March or Pretty Money. And right off the bat, you're going to hear one of our technical difficulties with Burke's guitar, where he's supposed to come in with the main riff. It didn't come through very well. It's very muffled, but you could still hear it, and you can hear me humming it through the mic just to try and make sure everything's going right. You can hear it though. Here it is.
I still feel like it's not quite there.
We have a little bit of a wait before we get into the song, trying to figure out technical stuff.
Please hold. We're not quite there.
Always try and play it off.
Alright. Let's go.
Pretty good first verse on my part. Everyone did pretty well. Burke doesn't actually have a part during that, but now you can hear his guitar and his amp and all that sort of. It falls behind and it just doesn't sound too great in the mix. the first chorus. About to go into the second chorus. Really listen to these drums. I love the drums during this chorus.
With me now.
Gotta get the crowd involved. You can really hear that Burke's guitar during the whole song had that sort of bassy tone, and it was really muffled, and it kind of fell behind next to Williams' rhythm guitar, which is of course supposed to be the foundation rather than the, the predominantly louder and more defined tone. And unfortunately, there wasn't much we could do about that on the spot. We do eventually fix it at some point, though. Perhaps after this song, I'm not entirely sure.
Feel good. Feel good. Feel good. Feel good. It feels good to feel good. To feel good. Down like camel's back. They just have to go 'cause they don't know why. So walk through the streets, it's a feeling to see. Won't get out the county 'cause I'm bad and free. Gotta keep on rising, it's a memorable style. All the time looking at the smile. Now I wanna hear the message we find. Feels like I gotta kiss me 'cause I don't get sleep, no.
So, a lot of bands cover songs that are fan service, essentially, and that's what we did here. It's a song that everyone can recognize and everyone likes, and we just decided to do our own interpretation of it while staying true to, the lyrics and the overall, not theme, but sound of it, almost. So, we did our own take on it. This is actually a song that I had a lot of trouble myself on due to the rap part that comes up after the first chorus, and just timing and whatnot was a mess for me during this song, but I eventually powered through practices, and this is essentially the best I can play this song live. you'll see that we actually abandoned the format of the original song just to clean things up and make them a little shorter, just so we don't have to play the entire song and embarrass ourselves further with our shoddy performance of Feel Good Inc. That was our rendition of Feel Good Inc. So right after the song that we last played, Feel Good Inc., there was a very long pause due to technical difficulties and switching guitars and tuning guitars, where it was essentially 6 or 7 minutes of us not playing anything, which was really embarrassing and only made things more stressful as we set things up. There was a lot of things we had to do, but we did eventually finally, get up to playing the song To Kill, which if you want to watch or listen to for yourself, we have a studio recorded version of it on the channel. All you have to do is click the link to our channel and go to videos and you'll see To Kill by Bird. That's us. So here we go.
You got volume on that?
Okay, I think we are ready. I hope. Come on, Bert!
Thank you for your patience.
As you can see, technical difficulties and things of that nature. It's very embarrassing.
Okay, I'm gonna start us off.
Right, you are the works at St. Burke failed to duty. We are not stopping this song again. Just get through it. Don't worry about it.
So already you can see it's already one of the rockier performances on our thing. We have a couple people messing up. We had to basically restart the song because Burke didn't come in, which, is all part of the deal. You have hiccups, you have mistakes, and this was our first performance, and this was definitely one of the worst, things that could have happened. It was all the technical difficulties and, having to restart the song around twice. But we did get through it, and we are now playing the song, and it's going all right. You can see that there was a little bit of an issue with me and William trying to start. I think he wanted to go in one more measure before we started with the lyrics at the very beginning, but I was ready to go then, and so we just kind of went with it, but we did figure it out. We did work over it. about to go into my part in this song, which I'm not too particularly proud of. I think there was a lot of work that could have been done and a lot of things I could have done better in this part, but we didn't have time to change it. We just had to do it how we had practiced. So coming up is my part in this song. You may have noticed that the audio quality switched and got significantly worse. That's because the boom mic itself had some pretty serious issues right at that point, so we switched to a different audio source, which was basically phone mics and recording different cameras and whatnot. I think we do eventually get the boom mic working again, though, and we get our original audio quality back. But I will discuss that more later, because an event does happen that is pretty drastic to the audio quality of this performance. So I'd say that one of the highlights of that song, one of the better parts, are the somber flute notes that Ben plays throughout the duration of the song. I think it sounds really good. It definitely adds to the tone and overall calmness of the song, and definitely kind of ironic, as it provides that sort of message after all the discord and all the trouble we went through trying to get the song ready to play. And after the flute notes, it seems like everything's all right now. Everything is all smooth. And, you know, it's all downhill from here, right? So, coming up next is Sean's drum solo, which is definitely one of the highlights of this show. It's very good audio, and the crowd really liked it. I think we all enjoyed it to an extent. It was very impressive, and it just really goes to show how much work he puts into the band and all the things that he practices for us. So, thanks, Sean. Edit this out, by the way. So right before this part comes up, I would just like to let you know that when we first started practicing, you know, all that, and we had Sean as our drummer, we wanted to do some metal stuff. So of course we asked him if he could double bass, and he could not. He really just could not double bass very well at all. And since practicing quite a few times and getting ready for this show, he's improved quite a bit, as you'll hear. And that was it. That was his drum solo, and definitely one of the better parts of the concert for both the band and us. We thought it was great. We loved it. So, I gotta let you know that for whatever reason, the audio quality dropped significantly right after the drum solo. The next couple songs aren't really that great. Like, you know, the songs before weren't too great, but after this drum solo, it dipped very far down in quality. It's muffled, it's messy, it sounds like, I think Williams' guitar, it's distortion or something. One of his amps went out, he was dual amping and he had it wired. Whatever happened, it just made the audio sound not too great. It could have been the mixing, could have been anything. We don't know what it was. It didn't sound too bad live. It sounded alright live. It was passable. But in the recording, you can really start to notice that it drops in quality quite significantly. So let's get into that. So this next song, Birdshot, definitely everyone's favorite song to play. Didn't come out too well in the recording, but we all really enjoyed playing it. Seems like the crowd was into it. Maybe not as much as us. We just really liked playing it. And you could tell how enthusiastic and excited we are to play this song coming right up.
We ready? All right, we're good. Crank that boy.
This intro really serves to just hype up the song for what it is. Not really much else to say other than that. This intro is really just, it pumps you up if you really listen to it. So as you can see, the audio issues really start to come up. The boomed mic just wasn't picking up everything very well. I don't know whether it was because of distortion or just the overall mix of everything, but it wasn't great. The song really, the audio recording does not do this song justice. This bass solo coming up is another one of the highlights of the concert. I love this part, and everyone else loved it too. It's just a short bass solo, follows up with the guitar coming in with the same riff, and then later on you get that big scream from me. Love this part. It's going to be great. I only wish the audio was a little bit better so we could really do that song justice in this video. Maybe another time when we have our recording set up a lot better than it was in this video. So up next we have another cover. It's Walk by Pantera. And you know, the audio recording again wasn't as good as it could have been, but there's not much we can really do about that. Of course, William would have loved his tone to be better for this particular song, but not a lot we can do. This is the best that we could manage with the equipment and the time that we had on stage. Here it is. So the chorus, of course, is one of those choruses that you love to sing along with. So I try to bring the mic over to William and Joe because that's how we sing the chorus. We all get together, we all share one mic, and we go, respect, the chorus, and I actually end up tripping over mic cords and whatnot, and I look really stupid. So enjoy that.
What did you say? What? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
So Joe seemed a little hesitant to sing the chorus with us, so you can actually hear me yell at him during that part, and it's kind of funny.
Run your mouth when I'm not around. It's easy to see. You try to regret that in the past. Can you hear the violins playing your song? Every word is there no.
So you definitely heard that I messed up right there. As a vocalist, I got a lot of words to remember, and I'm not a very intelligent person, so sometimes those words kind of get mixed up, and I actually took part of the first verse and added it to the second verse by accident. Got things mixed up. It was one of the many mistakes that I made this show.
Standard for what it takes, who I am, where I've been belong. You can't be something you're not. Be yourself, find yourself, stay away from me. A lesson learned in life. No from the dawn of time. Hey! Back! What? Are you talking to me? Hey! Back! What? What did you say? Hey! Back! What? What did you say? Hey! Back! What? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? No way, Bob!
So as you could see, or as you could have heard, the solo that William played was not the solo from Walk Itself. One, because that solo is incredibly difficult, and two, just because he didn't want to play it. I don't know, some sort of guitarist thing, whatever. But that was his own solo that he came up with, which sounded alright. It was kind of on the fly. I don't think he practiced it too much. But on with the song.
What did you say? Back! What? Are you talking to me? Back! What? What did you say? Back! What? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Walk on home, boy.
Here's a completely improvised thing that we decided to do before we moved on to the song that we hyped up. We decided to make Ben do a flute solo. Just improv. And he did pretty good.
Flute solo!
Anyways, finally, here is that song that we hyped up. You could definitely hear during the choruses and whatnot where I'm supposed to sing that I shredded my voice. My voice is nearly dead by the end of this show. It's a little bit of confusion. He went into the part after the chorus, before the second chorus, where he does the bridge and whatnot. So definitely caught that very quickly and fixed it. This part coming up is definitely one of the last few highlights of the concert. This bridge solo and this whole thing, this whole end of the outro of the song Creatures is fantastic. So just warning you, I am basically entirely off key throughout this entire thing because my voice is completely broken and I just had to do what I could and, you know, work through it. Monstrous creatures. So what we got going on next is sort of a stage gag and joke kind of thing. It's actually the first part of Smells Like Teen Spirit, and then when the chorus hits, we go into All Star by Smash Mouth. Kind of a joke. Don't take it too seriously. It's almost bad on purpose, we'd say. So here's that. You could see, as if almost like a sign of God that we shouldn't be doing this monstrosity, William's strap just fell off and he had to catch his guitar and miss a few beats. So, there was a disturbing lack of applause after that particular song, just because I think we confused the crowd. They really didn't know what to think of that. As to be expected, it was a joke, and it was pretty bad, even as a joke, but we enjoyed doing it. It's not like there was much on stake. We weren't getting paid, and they didn't have to pay for it anyway, so there you go. Coming up, we actually have the last song on the set, which is a solo by William performing It's a Song. I completely forgot the name of the song. I should probably look it up and probably put it on the screen, because I can't remember it right now. But anyways, definitely a song. Yeah. You tell I'm getting tired at this point. But anyways, it's the last song on the set. Doesn't really matter at this point, right? Alright, I just remembered what it was. It's Wicked Game. Yep. Don't know who it's by. I know that Stone Sour covered it, so yeah.
The world is on fire, no one can save me but you. It's strange what desire can make foolish people do. And I never dreamed
That is the extent of our technical difficulties.
that I meet somebody like you. No, I never dreamed that I'd lose somebody like you. No, I don't wanna fall in. No, I don't wanna fall in love with you.
And at that point, the concert was basically over. We just packed up and left after that, took a bow, the things like that. And so, hopefully you enjoyed. That was just some commentary and analysis of our first concert, and you're just watching the whole thing and providing commentary. Hopefully it was entertaining. I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, you should probably leave a like. Maybe you should subscribe. Who knows? Anyways, this has been Gage of the band Official Bird. I'm out of here. Toodles doodles.